Yesterday, Brian's Spin did an amazing interview. This morning, Brian, thank you. This morning, Caleb should have corrected me on that. This morning, Brian Spin did an amazing interview with Dave Eubanks.
Have we officially transitioned to the second half of the show?
We have. Do you have to go?
No, so JR and I are going to bow out.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you fine gentlemen take it from here.
JR, would you like to? JR, you guys are welcome to stay.
Yeah, I got to get in bed. It's already 10.
Okay. Enjoy. Think of me.
Love you.
Okay, bye.
I'll be listening, but I also am going to go. I'm coaching every class the next 2 days, getting up at 4 a.m. tomorrow. So thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
And I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
Thank you.
Bye, Brian.
It's going to be nice knowing Brian's listening to us as he falls asleep. He's counting Hiller doing TRT injections.
Did you guys see Lucas Parker's in the chat?
2 injections. That's Barry McCockner. He just looks like Lucas Parker. So this morning, Mr. Spin did an interview with Dave Eubanks. It was a great interview. It was great because it really brought some very interesting attention to a topic that I hold dear and near. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe you guys can help me, but I think it was 2018 or 2019. 2019. That Greg Glassman changed the format of the CrossFit Games, and they invited every single country champion. I don't know if you guys remember that. That caused a lot of frustration on a lot of people's, for a lot of people. What it did do is it made it the most eclectic CrossFit Games in the history of the games by far.
Is it eclectic or eclectic?
Yes. I'm trying to use a word that's different than inclusive.
I figured.
What it did is it allowed the largest range of ethnicities and nationalities to participate. Eclectic idea, style, or taste from a broad and diverse range of sources. Thank you. What did I say?
You're right.
Oh, okay, thank you. Eclectic, I appreciate it. Eclectic was the most eclectic cast of characters ever at the CrossFit Games. Now, that was not Greg's intention. He wasn't. This wasn't. We didn't have a DEI council. This was just he was like, hey man, let's let everyone participate. Kind of at the root of the CrossFit Games was to make it so that it was the most potent fitness methodology, lifestyle methodology for human beings to do. All of us who are humans, who have the DNA that makes us humans, and that if you follow this lifestyle protocol, your body would respond in the way that it's supposed to, and you'd be the most robust human being alive through this diet and movement. So, and he wanted to make it he knew not everyone would do it, but he knew anyone could do it, and that it would have huge benefits for them. That group had the rainbow there, man. You could hold up a chart and it would be from white to black, like a piece of paper, and you could hold it up to the people there, and it would be the broadest range of any of those group of people ever at the CrossFit Games. Do you understand what I'm saying? The melanin in human skin at those games was the widest.
Oh, you said the rainbow, and I thought we were getting sponsored by Skittles.
Oh no, sorry, the black and white rainbow, the skin color rainbow, not the.
I'm up to speed. Okay, let it roll.
DEI, Dick's Energy and Inspiration. Correct. You feel where we're going with this. This year. Well, I want to explain one more thing to you, and then we're going to play this clip from the interview. Basically, in order to get to the CrossFit Games, in order to get people from your region to the CrossFit Games, you need to accumulate points. The people in your region need to accumulate points to make it to the CrossFit Games. Ironically, the greatest way to accumulate those points is at the CrossFit Games. So if you can't get to the CrossFit Games, you can't get the points to come back to the CrossFit Games. I know that's a little bit dizzying.
It's like those people who say invest a bunch of money in the stock market so you can make more money. It's a 10% investment on your $10 million you invested. You're going to make $100,000 a year and never work again in your day in your life. It's like, well, where am I going to get $10 million to invest? It's like, wait, you don't just have that sitting around?
Right. And I'm going to explain one more thing to you. And if you don't get this, it's okay. It's going to start to make more sense to you. But Brian Spin basically did a calculation. And that basically, if your region, there are these 7 regions, if your region doesn't have at least 5 people go to the CrossFit Games.
No, 5 in the top 100.
Sorry. If you don't have at least 5 athletes in your region who are the top 100 best athletes in the world, fittest athletes in the world, your chances of getting someone new to the games are nearly impossible. Mathematically fucking impossible. So this method that they've installed, that they've put into place, has made it so it's almost impossible. No matter how many great athletes come out of Africa, Tia would have to go there. I mean,
what
literally,
if we had 5
Tia or
Brodies and
Justin would
5
have to
Tias
fucking
living
go
in
there
Africa?
in order for Africa to get enough points. Basically, someone from Africa has to win the games if they ever want to get another person into another spot to qualify to go from the semifinals to the games. And I want you to listen very carefully to this interview here. This is Dave Eubanks. This is the guy who is in charge of making this new protocol, of organizing this new protocol that takes you from the open to the CrossFit Games. Action.
My video on Africa. One of the things that it appears by looking at the math is that it takes about 5 athletes in the top 100 to have a shot at getting into the top 100. But looking at the scoring table for Africa, right, there's 4,000, 1,800, 800 for the top 3. And then it drops down pretty significantly below that, which if they do well in the open and quarterfinals, they're given about 6,000 points. So they need about 1,500 over 2 years in semifinals, which doing so almost is near impossible for Africa. Am I thinking about that right? Is there
Can we pause this?
a path for Africa to?
So you don't need to worry about any of the numbers you heard. But basically what he has just said to Dave Eubanks is, am I thinking about this right? Is it almost impossible for someone new from Africa, besides the one spot that's already allocated, to make it to the CrossFit Games?
Action.
Yes, please.
To get 5 spots in the top 100, given the semifinal scoring table?
No, I think you're right. It is going to be very, very difficult for Africa to get enough people in the top 100 for them to earn an additional games qualifying spot. And I guess the question I put back to you is your contention that Africa should have an additional games qualifying spot right now?
Pause.
No.
He responds, he's asking Mike, do you think that someone deserves to go from Africa? That's not what Brian's even proposing at all. He's asking this guy, hey, you've built this system that's supposed to let people get to the games who are good enough to get to the games. It's supposed to be this egalitarian, equal playing field. Let's have a mathematical equation or a protocol or an entry that makes it so people who are good enough can go. Let's give opportunity. And Brian's like, hey, you haven't done that for the entire Africa region. Can you rewind it just like 10 seconds, hit the J key and play this again? This is fucking crazy to me.
In the top 100 for them to earn an additional game score, for Africa to get enough people in the top 100 for them to earn an additional games qualifying spot. And I guess the question I put back to you is your contention that Africa should have an additional games qualifying spot right now?
No, I'm saying I don't see a
Keep going. This is great.
path that they can get there though in any time down the future because of the number. Because just qualifying for the games right now pretty much guarantees you're in the top 100 for 2 years, right? You're going to get somewhere in the 4,000 to 3,000 plus point range, which is well above most likely the 7,500 it's going to take to get into the top 100. But if you finish in fourth place twice in Africa, you're only going to get an additional 800 points, right? You're going to be around 6,800 points. leaving only 3 in the top 100. I just don't see a path that even if there were great athletes that came out of Africa, they're never going to get 5 spots to get that opportunity.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's possible that's one of the things we look at in the off season. But I mean,
pause.
What I would say is that
he needs to be like, fuck you, Brian. There absolutely is. This is a totally fair protocol that we've vetted and works. Yeah, they hate Asians even more, coming from Yash. Let me see. Halpin has a couple things in here, unfucking me a little bit. Not almost impossible. It is impossible. If your region does not have 5 spots, they don't get an extra spot. This is true for Oceania and Africa. It's weird that it took me 3 shows to finally pick up on this, and then also for Halpin to unfuck me yesterday, and then Brian Spin to do this great interview. If Africa had Tia, Cara Saunders, Ellie Turner, and Jamie Simmons, they could never, ever send more than 1 athlete with the points table in the 2-year look back. Holy shit. Is that true?
They could have Tia, Mal, Laura, Danielle, and they still would not.
So why don't we just say, hypothetically, they've got 50 Tias sitting over in Africa?
You have to have 5 athletes in the top 100.
Oh, 5. Okay.
So
it's 4.
if you guys don't understand, I want to try to explain this to people who just aren't following along clearly. Basically, there's this thing, and it's hard to follow. There's this thing, it's called the strength of field. And basically, and basically that's the number of points. You get a worldwide ranking, and then that gives you a certain number of points. So Hiller may have 10, Brian Spin may have 10, and I may have 10, and we're all from Africa, so that gives us 30 points, right? And so those 30 points in our region, then they look at a chart and they're like, okay, how many people get to qualify for the CrossFit Games based on the fact that their strength of field numbers and their worldwide rankings numbers equal 30 points. And what they're saying, what Brian Spin and Halpin are saying is it doesn't matter how many points they fucking get. They can't get enough points because the way they've set this up for Africa ever to have another person qualify besides the one. And now you might think, and that's what Adrian was saying, and I want to defend Adrian here a little bit, and I am biased. I fucking love Adrian to death. But Adrian said, does it pass the sniff test? And what he meant by that is, do the same number of people get to go this year in 2023 that probably would have gone in 2022? The answer is yes. But why concoct this protocol that now makes it absolutely impossible for anyone from Africa to go? And if you wanted to use the CrossFit Games logic, and this is where it gets weird, you would have to say that they're 100% racist, that they fucking hate black people and Arabs. I'm just using their logic. I don't actually think that. But I know Dave Eubanks is woke as fuck. And I just want to say one more thing. I don't want to drag you two into this, but I want to play one more fucking clip, and then I want to ask you guys about this. Caleb, can you play the next clip where Mr. Spin asks him, are you happy with, by the way, I knew you were fucking amazing at Wadapalooza. I told you I wish I was you. Now I doubly wish I was you. Or at least you were my son or something. This is crazy. Watch the rest of this. And I don't think that they're racist, but this has made it the least inclusive CrossFit Games in the history of CrossFit Games. It's loaded so that melanated people from the African continent cannot go. And I'm just using their logic. And I would recommend that Eleanor from the DEI Council, who's so fucking concerned about us using words, and that's what I was making fun of her earlier. If you went to her LinkedIn profile, she's posted phrases that people shouldn't say anymore, like "shoot me an email." That was me making fun of her. I would say that Mr. Eubanks should have to do 52 weeks of sensitivity training and maybe send him to the Congo. Yeah, Eubanks is exactly right. Or Asian. Yeah, he hates Asian people too. I mean, this is batshit crazy. But I want you to know, I actually don't think he's racist. I just think he's a moron. Okay, action.
So those are great things, but I think it is serving the purpose that it is meant to serve.
Sorry.
Like
Can you start it back 10 seconds earlier? Okay, here we go. Action.
Work, and it should continue to be, and I encourage it. So those are great things, but I think it is serving the purpose that it is meant to serve. Like you said, it gives commentators and athletes and fans a lot of stuff to talk about where the worldwide rankings are. And it gives us an objective system that we can look at and say, hey, if you're in the top worldwide 100 after quarterfinals, you have material bearing on how many games qualifying spots are going to be.
So it serves the system it's supposed to serve, and according and that's to keep Africans out. I rest my case, Your Honor. Mr. Spin, when you did this interview and you're at 24:38 and you ask him that like you're 24, you can pull it down now, Caleb. Thank you. I'd like to see Mr. Spin's face a little bigger. When you are you following all this, Hiller?
I'm following, yeah.
Okay.
I'm picking it up as you're throwing it down.
Mr. Spin, as at the 24-minute mark when you bring this question up, are you nervous to bring this question up because you know that it's going to he might dig himself into a fucking corner?
I mean, I knew going into this, obviously he's been on several podcasts, CrossFit and Talking Elite Fitness, where it was very just, this is the greatest system ever. Nobody has really complained about it. And I didn't want to just get in to start throwing mud the first minute, right? I mean, it wasn't we weren't going to get anything out of the conversation. So I really wanted to just frame questions that got beyond the surface level of, yeah, we want to surf, a top 100 and that's going to send people to the CrossFit Games. And it's really no different. And so, yeah, I mean, asking that question, I wasn't sure, first of all, if he's even going to react to it. But when he said that, there's really no way for it, I knew that he probably either hasn't done the math on it, or worse.
I honestly think that what they've done, and what do you think? Do you have any opinions on whether this is stupidity or this is actually cool because it keeps the status quo? Or do you have any thoughts on how they ended up in this position where they have to answer a question that basically says, yeah, it doesn't matter how good the athletes are who come out of Africa, they can't come to the games?
I think they created a system that was going to mimic what 2022 looked like, with math rather than them saying, here's how many spots you get. And what really threw me off is if you listen, I asked about the minimum number of spots. Why not start with one? And the answer was because the rule book was already in process and it already had defined the number of minimum qualifying spots. So we built the unallocated spots and the calculations off of that versus maybe doing the right thing and saying, hey, everybody gets one spot. And I
heard you ask him that question twice. Because when he said it, you said, I just want to clarify, you built this system after the rule book.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, if you're building an entire system that's meant to be off of, the best athletes getting there, why are you throwing 2 spots to Asia and 2 spots to Latin America with, just based off history?
I mean, basically, at the point that they see someone great, the next great person come out of Africa after, let's say, Jason Smith, let's say, or Keelan Henry, they're basically just going to have to go. They're going to have to change the rules. They're going to have to arbitrarily now just add someone and be like, okay, now 2 people get to come from Africa, and making this kind of a mockery of the whole Dahant method that they're parading out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could have
that's the only way, right?
You could have Keelan win in 23, and then next year in 24, Jason Smith win the games. So you'd have 2 CrossFit Games champions out of Africa, and they still would not get 2 spots for the games in 25.
It's unreal that they put this much work into parading this out.
Well,
and
Brian,
it ends up just hurting.
Like
this ends up being like BLM. They put all that work in, and all you get is a 34% increase in black homicide. It's fucking nuts.
If you had Jason Smith one year and Keelan win the next year, you're also assuming that one of them would not make the games in the following year, which would be impossible if you really think about it. The games champion not competing in the following year.
Well, unless he was pregnant, which I think Eubanks thinks that men can get pregnant. And I don't mean that jokingly. Holy shit. What are they gonna have to do to? Or do you think how long are they gonna run with this? Do you think they're gonna double down on their error, or they're gonna have to back out of this?
I mean, nothing's going to change for 23. I think that ship sailed.
Someone there's going to realize what they've done, right? That they've made it impossible for anyone from the African continent. I mean, can't someone call the Biden administration and have them just?
I think what you'll see is, especially when you start throwing out, and he has these new point tables for the new semifinals, right? Based off of 13 athletes or 12 athletes in North America going. What that's going to do is more athletes have the opportunity again. I think Mike talked about it on your last show, that there's a more opportunity for these guys in North America and Europe to push into the bottom half of the top 100 and kick out those athletes that are in Oceania or Africa or Asia that might have been in the 90th to 100th, and now they're in the 101st to 110th. And so I think what you'll see is in 24, you'll see even less of the smaller regions have a representation in the top 100.
Wow. And that's moving the needle in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they were moving. Sorry, this is Mike Halpin. They knew they were moving out of Asia during the games last year when he announced a permanent visa. So they knew in giving 2 spots to Asia that it was to athletes that have only finished in last.
I think he left out Roman.
That's what he meant, Roman.
Yeah. I mean, they knew that. I mean, when they put the rule book out, it was called the Roman rule. I mean, everybody knew it. So, when you're creating this, and yeah, I mean,
let me see that again. Pull that up again. Sorry. Let me, Halpin, Mike Halpin. An important reminder, the top athletes, Keelan and Michelle Bazinet, have dual citizenship. They can just leave and compete somewhere else.
That's good.
Holy shit. This is Jake Dome. But I think the CrossFit team is right in saying that an individual athlete's placement is not a good metric of how many spots that region should have.
All right, what should they do?
Hey, here's the thing.
Anybody got something there?
If this was a matured sport, and we started, let's say this was a matured sport, let's say, Brian, and we gave just each region 5 athletes, right? Or 6 athletes. Let's say 42 people come to the games. And then then we start the DeHaan method. Then we're good to go, right? Actually, but eventually someone could get into a pinch and get down to 1 or 0 again.
If you started out with 5 each, no. I mean,
no.
because that scoring table, the problem is you have over 2 years, you have 8 scored opportunities. And we know half of those are meaningless. The open and quarterfinals are meaningless. And Dave admitted that, right? Everybody gets the same amount of points.
Right.
The games, again, is only for the top 40 athletes. So the place where you make a movement is in the semifinals. That's the only way you can get from outside the top 100 to inside the top 100 is basically going to the games or getting enough points to crack that 7,500 threshold. So basically you're just going to be in that situation, you're pretty much going to be 5 in every region every single year. So
remember the year that the South had, what's going on with him? There was the South regional.
It's hailing where I'm at. That's crazy. I'm in Arizona and I heard hail.
Was very notably weaker in the South, in the Americas. And then everyone just kind of knew, but no one really had too big of a problem with it. I don't know why they don't just give more spots to Africa and say, well, you got them because you're Africa. And they're just, it would be like the South region back in the North America. What was it? During the regionals, of course.
I mean, there's several different ways. I mean, I've looked at it by looking at the top 100, and if you're in first place, you get 100 points, second place 99, and using the DeHaan that way. That way, like I pushed Dave, Justin Medeiros should count worth more, get more votes than, say, the 99th place person in the world. And what that does is, if you look at giving 1 spot to every region and doing that calculation, it gets about to the same spot, but after a year or 2, you have room to kind of move in and out of that. But it's a tough situation given that we only have 8 scored events and only 4 matter.
In a nutshell, And I'm gonna take a stab at this. I'm gonna see, and then we'll let. I'm gonna see here Andrew's take and Brian's take. In a nutshell, basically, what we're saying is this: if you don't start, the cards are stacked so that whoever. Fuck, I don't even know how to explain it. It's simply and eloquently. Go ahead, Mr. Spin. You want to take an idea, a stab at it? Just basically for people who can't follow the math and the numbers, just be like, hey, this is the fucking problem, and this is why Africa's fucked.
Yeah, the problem is the D'Hondt method requires, the way they have it set up, you have to have 5 people in the top 100 to have a chance at the D'Hondt method calculating to give you an additional spot, one of those 17 unallocated spots. The problem is the point structure for semifinals in Africa, where they only give you 1. You don't have enough athletes based on the scoring table, which you get 4,000 for first, which you win that, you go to the games, you're in the top 100. Second place only gets 1,800. Third place gets 800. Fourth place gets 400. You need at least 1,500 points off of 2 semifinal events in 2 years to break into the top 100. If you do the math, 4th place and 5th place do not get there if they get 4th and 5th 2 years in a row. So next year or the year after, Africa will only have maybe 3 athletes in the top 100. And so they'll never get an additional spot to the games. They'll always keep 1.
Basically, if you can't make it to the games, you can't get enough points to get more games athletes there. Mm-hmm. And they've set it up that Africans can't get to the fucking games. The end. Hiller, do you want to take a stab at
it? I listened pretty closely to, of course, the drug interview with the Blue City team, and I did a video on it. And what I took away from their interactions with the people over at CrossFit is that there's too many people.
By the way, that was a great video. That was a great video. I watched that.
Thanks. Too many people doing too many jobs. And when you do too many jobs, issues like this could possibly be arising, which is they haven't looked into this, and Brian has figured it out. And then now you're saying they're going, oh shit, on their end of the table, thinking they hadn't thought about this scenario, and now they got to figure it out on the fly. Or is there a world where they do already know about it and they just don't care?
Reminder, the athlete that just went to the games from Africa for women is going team, so there's 4,000 less points and 1 less African athlete. In summation,
also,
I just want you to...
Why do they have to do this? Why do they have to do this? It's so confusing. The sport doesn't need to get harder. It needs to be simplified so that people don't have to dig through and figure out how the fuck everything works. Make it like, 2019 was ridiculous, but everyone knew what was going on. Pretty simply.
I want to reiterate. I want to reiterate. Remember those people who said that I'm out when it was by far, there were more ethnicities and more nationalities at that CrossFit Games than all the other CrossFit Games combined. And remember the people, and I want to say probably more people with gay people too. Let's just throw that in there, even though I can't prove that. I only sucked 3 guys' dicks there. But remember, that's the guy they kicked out. That's the guy that they hated on. And now we have the most restricted CrossFit Games ever, especially if you're from the African continent. Just remember that. Remember those people, those I'm out people. It's weird. They know not. Didn't Jesus say something like, they know not what they did, forgive them? It was 2018, 2019. I can't remember. All sorts of funny looking people. Armenians and shit. Weird looking motherfuckers from the Middle East were in the games.
I was there.
There they are. Look at them. Look at all these weirdos.
Yeah, it's lit.
Look at that. And I want to show you this too, by the way. Mr. Beaver, could you pull up the there he is. There's my boy. Can you pull up this? This is posted today on LinkedIn. This is someone that your affiliate money is going to. Remember, they just fired the black guy who was running the affiliate department too. Don't forget that, Gary Gaines. Big fan of Gary Gaines, not because he's black, but because he's a. This fucking thing's about to come down here in Arizona. Can you hear this shit? It's getting scary. Can you, Caleb, on LinkedIn, the head of their DEI council just posted this bunch of words that you're not supposed to say. This is where your affiliate money is going to. Her name's Eleanor. Can you imagine? She's a professional censorer. She professionally censors words, censors people. Sevan is in Tucker Carlson mode. I don't mean to be. I just want to. Can I be Martin Luther King or some shit?
I want to be Gerard Butler in 300. What do I got to do?
Yeah.
I'll kick Dave Eubanks.
I almost put Halpin on timeout. I almost clicked the wrong button. Exactly, Sevan. That should also remind the PFAA, the DAC, and the I'm Out athletes that in 2020, athletes seem to have all the power, but in 2023, it's back to CrossFit can do what they want. Yeah. I mean, it's you should have. The grass is not greener on the other side of the hill. Caleb, are you working on it or? Oh yeah, he is working on it. I just want to show you this. It's a LinkedIn post. Have you seen it, Souza? Have you seen this post? I sent you a screenshot of it. I cannot believe that there's someone at HQ that makes money. Hey, dear Don. Oh yes, Malcolm X. Thank you. I'll take it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Jesus, change your profile pic. It chubs me up every time I see it. This is Elaine Marino. She, her, ella. I do like the fact she speaks Spanish. Global head of diversity, equity, inclusion. Global. Dude, what do you stop playing adult? Fuck. Global. And she's reposted the lead from Atlanta. Like that should disqualify you, by the way, of anything that we believe that you say as soon as we know you're from fucking Atlanta. And this is, so she doesn't want us to say pull the trigger. She wants us to say going to launch. You shouldn't say I'm going to take a stab at it. You should say I'm going to take a first pass at it. And she has all of these things. That's your affiliate money, people.
Did I tell you I got in a fight with someone at Office Depot today?
I would love to hear
I think
that
I
story.
used all the phrases on the left in the middle of it.
Beware, Sevan may lose power. I ain't losing shit. I ain't got no power. I got nothing.
He's a straight shooter. That's straight out of Office Space, that quote. Come on, he's a straight shooter with...
What the fuck is the Aya pronoun? That's she. I'm okay with Aya. Yeah, guaranteed she doesn't CrossFit either. Probably not.
What is wrong with the stuff on the left? Can you tell me? Like, what's wrong with saying I was blown away? That was awesome.
Oh, she's riding the horse because I watched CNN today for 2 hours. She's riding the horse. They can't stop talking about. It's so funny. They didn't care. They didn't care when Joe Biden about the laptop, and they didn't care that the virus was made in China. But now all of a sudden they're focused on these balloons from China, and they're focused on the school shootings. It's bizarre. Stop watching that shit unless you're just there to do research. Sevan, do you want us to be an affiliate owner? Sevan, do you want us to be an affiliate owner? Is that what you were saying? I want you to do whatever you want to do, but you're paying money to the mothership, and I just want you to know what it's for. Hey, every single affiliate owner I've had on, and I have one on a week, I try to, has been like, yeah, I pay money for brand loyalty. That's what they do it because they're good people with values. They're good fucking people with values. People with values don't need their money spent on being told what to say or excluding people from the African continent of making it to the games. That's not those kind of people.
That was deep.
That's what I'm saying. And I would love for CrossFit to succeed. And I love Don or I love what Don's doing. I'd like to love Don. And I would like, and I love Adrian. That I actually do love Adrian. There's people over there that I dig, but I'm just seeing this dumb shit. I mean, look at my buddy Souza fucking pays money over there. Doing it for Souza.
Hey, I pulled this up earlier. Do you think that looks like Eubanks?
It looks like me if I fucking got juiced up and had the plastic surgery and got a fucking
I think that looks a lot like Eubanks without the AirPods in, of course.
You know what's funny too is my mom. My mom hates it when I say anything bad about Eubanks because he was the instructor at her level 1, and she said he was a fucking class act and a good dude.